Next is reflecting functions, level 2 problem. So this is where we might have to be more careful about our inputs and our outputs to try this out. So if we look at this, this is like the parent function of the absolute value of x. So this is the absolute value of x here. The negative outside of here will flip it. So that's kind of like the a value. That flips it and makes it go down. So that's that negative. And then the negative inside of here, we just have to be careful what that does to the x. I think it'll probably just kind of reflect it over the y-axis, but we just need to be sure about that. So we just do a test point. When x, or we may have to do 2 because it's absolute value. When x is 1, the absolute value, it turns into -1, and the absolute value of -1 is 1, and then we have the negative, so it goes down there, and that would be exactly where we want it to go. And then if we check out -1, we plug in -1, it turns into a positive. So output of -1 again. So everything is kind of the same on both sides. So a negative inside of here would reflect it over the y-axis usually. But in this case, since it's symmetrical along the y-axis, we don't see any change at all. So let's go ahead and I'll clear what I have. And so this shifts it down, and we have to match it at 1. So that's kind of the key at -1, 1. So when x is 1, when x is 1, yes. -1, yes. And we get everything to link up. Check. All right. And then, yes, reflected over the y-axis is correct. Reflect over the x-axis. Let's do one more. All right. So this is our exponential function, y equals ab to the x as our parent function. We have a of 1, so that hits the y-axis at 1. And then we have the negative x, a negative in front of the x again. So if you remember, negative in front of the x flips it or reflects it across the y-axis. So now that we got the little trick, we can just go ahead and do that. So we're flipping it across the y-axis. So, and then we can just test a point. It's usually a good idea to test a point here. If x is -1, a negative and a negative make a positive, and then your output's going to be 2. Yes, and we're good with that. So we can kind of go from there. I'll go ahead and submit answer. And yes.